Breaking news, professional wrestling fans, New Jack apparently has passed away. New Jack of the Gangsters, age 58, former ECW tag team champion several times with his partner Mustafa in the Gangsters, also with Eliminator John Kronus. I knew New Jack a bit. I had several interactions with New Jack. This is sad. It's kind of shocking. He lived at the end of the lightning bolt, and he's another ECW wrestler who's passed away too soon. New Jack lived by New Jack's terms. I was there for the Eric Kulason incident. I was literally about 10 feet away from the ring. And I don't know if you'd call that a good view or a bad view, but I had the view to see a lot of what happened that night. So way back when. But New Jack should not be defined by just that situation. It was not a good situation, and I do think New Jack went too far in that situation with the blading of Eric Kulas. But beyond that night, New Jack provided a hell of a lot of entertainment for people. He brought a cutting edge, so to speak, to professional wrestling. He had his own thing going. You had to be a brave soul to enter the ring with New Jack. Was it Vic Grimes? Who was the guy? Was that the guy that went off the scaffold with New Jack? I mean, a guy who really did live on the edge, but a sense of humor. I think one thing that I'd like to remember New Jack for is his sense of humor was just off the chain. He had a sense of humor about himself. He had a sense of humor about his profession. He had a sense of humor about the things that he was involved in. I'm not sure how he passed away. I was looking for the exact information. Not that it matters, but I guess I'm just curious. I guess I'll tell you some personal stories of New Jack. The little that I have. I do have 2 or 3 stories I can tell quickly because they're not long ones. If you want to see evidence or just a funny little side note, go to My Sit Down with Sandman. It's me, Sandman, but New Jack has a little cameo in that. It's on the playlist somewhere. In My Sit Down with Sandman with a cameo by New Jack. But I'm remembering the first time I was in the presence of New Jack. It goes to a Burlington, Massachusetts ECW show, the one and only time that ECW got to do Burlington, small kind of suburban town outside of Boston. And there was a bunch of RF videos, and I think it might have been Feinstein, or at the time Feinstein had a assistant named Doug, who I think passed away too, and Doug was a great guy. But they had like these rows and rows of VHS tapes, and New Jack walks by, looks over the rows and rows of VHS tapes, and then looks to the guy running the VHS tape stand. It was either Doug or Feinstein himself, and New Jack says, "Bootlegger." Oh, he just bootlegger. And at the time, I was with a friend of mine, Bill Michon, kind of one of my ECW running buddies back then. And Bill was into, at the time, it was still called alternative music, alternative rock, whatever. Weezer had a song on the radio, and the lyric was literally Johnny Grunge, leg drop, New Jack through a press table. And it was... the lyric, I guess, from Rivers Cuomo from Weezer was that he saw this picture in a Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine of Johnny Grudge leg drop New Jack through a press table, and Michon somehow asked New Jack if he had heard the song, and New Jack said, "Yeah, I heard it. I ain't getting no money though." So New Jack always had his priorities. And just that show was the Gangsters against the Samoan Gangsta Party, which was kind of like this weird hybrid of the Head Shrinkers and the Samoan SWAT team at the time. Might have been Rikishi in there, I don't even know. But anyway, and then of course I did see the infamous, I was there, the Gangsters against Devon Dudley and Koulos. But before that match happened, about an hour and a half or 2 hours before that match happened, I was actually talking to New Jack right there in Revere that night. And New Jack was just in a very generous mood. He said, "You should come over to the hotel later and party with us." Like, New Jack's inviting me to party with him. Nice guy. Except if you were wrestling him, you know, let's make that, or if unless he was shooting you, because apparently New Jack had 4 justified homicides on his record. So believe it or not, Eric Koulos, the kid that New Jack sliced open, said this to me later on. He said New Jack's like a split personality. He's the nicest guy 1 minute and then not so much the next when he's cutting your forehead open. So, just if you watch any of the New Jack videos, the high spots or the fucking, you know, a lot of DVDs came out. You shoots, New Jack's all over those. Him shooting on Chris Benoit. I believe New Jack's telling some Missy Hyatt stories. New Jack surprises Jim Cornette. The next time I can remember seeing New Jack was when I was doing that ring announcing thing, my sit down with Sandman, and having New Jack grab me for the Sandman to cane me was obviously a bit of a flashback for me to seeing Koulos get his sled sliced open. So I was a little nervous. And then in the dressing room, at the very end of my sit down with Sandman, you hear, I think our friend Dave Padula scream out, cut, you guys got to cut. Why that was is because New Jack was having a diabetes problem. I guess that was a little known fact or a little known thing. Low blood sugar, I don't know. I mean, they said diabetes. I don't fucking know. But New Jack was having trouble that night, and that was a long time ago. So I'm not, just to be clear, I'm not speculating on the cause of death here. I'm just saying that New Jack, even back then, you know, had to get some orange juice to be okay. And, of course, Beyond the Mat. I mean, New Jack and fucking Beyond the Mat is just... And you kind of wanted to see if New Jack would pursue Hollywood. You know what I mean? I mean, and the lady, and the casting director in fucking Beyond the Mat. Oh, you wouldn't be Denzel, but you would be Denzel's friend. You know, I mean, just so fucking ridiculous. But I would have watched New Jack in like a Friday movie, or next Friday, or Friday after next Friday, or whatever the fuck. Can you imagine New Jack in like the movie The Players Club or something? What else? New Jack? The next time I believe I saw New Jack in person was kind of an experience I should talk about at length sometime. It was Extreme Reunion. These guys were filming a movie, which I believe it became Barbed Wire City. They had filmed a bunch of stuff years earlier, and then they were trying to finish off this movie. And they were actually interviewing me, and I was saying stuff for their little movie there. And then New Jack comes out of nowhere from behind me and starts, you know, cutting a promo. You got to remember, folks, if you were in the audience like I was, 10 feet from the ring, and saw New Jack slice open this poor Eric Koulos kid, you'd be a bit traumatized too. You know what I mean? So whenever I saw New Jack, I always had this inner fear, to be honest with you. But he was always a nice guy to me. And so New Jack puts his arm around me and starts cutting this promo for the Barbed Wire City thing, which for whatever the fuck reason, those guys didn't use the promo. Idiots. No offense. I don't see why you didn't use the goddamn promo of me and New Jack for your fucking movie. Then, you know, when I left that Extreme Reunion thing, I remember, like, New Jack waving goodbye to me. Like, he was always a nice guy to me. I was always kind of, to be honest, a little fearful of him because of the Koulos thing. Like, this guy could go at any fucking time. I don't know, man. There was rumors for a while, I think it was like the 2006 era or 2003, that New Jack had a trial match in WWE, and I don't know if that actually ever happened, or they were talking about bringing New Jack in. Of course, they never did. New Jack did make some appearances in that Extreme Invasion, the EC2 stuff in TNA in the summer of 2010, which I actually liked. And they had a funny little situation of New Jack on that pay-per-view, the Hardcore Justice. There was a funny little promo of him. I don't know. And I think some early TNA stuff, like the weekly episodes. This is strange because it's just weird. You kind of feel like the rebel spirit of New Jack will live forever. But I mean, this is a guy who was a natural storyteller. And kind of like my friend, Ox Baker, New Jack didn't need to wrestle to kind of be over. Like, you could just be listening to New Jack stories if he got to be 70 or 80, and he'd still be very entertaining. This woman's texting while driving, by the way, so maybe she can stop doing it. And she's got 2 kids in the back seat. Mom of the year over here. But New Jack, I don't know. I'm shocked. I'm stunned. I'm saddened. So, peace to New Jack. I don't know what else to say. I'm in a state of shock. Do more evidence on this. Best New Jack match, single match, one-on-one against Bam Bam Bigelow. I think that was in late '98, like maybe November to Remember '98, something like that. Look into the ECW pay-per-views. Find your New Jack versus Bam Bam Bigelow match if you want your best singles one-on-one. And for tag team, I always like the New Jack and Spike Dudley team a lot. I'm not sure if they got the belts or not. New Jack, rest in peace. Great talent. And just one of the best talkers in the last 30 years of professional wrestler. Rest in peace, my brother, New Jack.